was an extremely unhealthy relationship. And I even feel weird calling it a relationship because the dynamic was not one of a relationship. It was more one of someone who saw a toy to play with. The industry they were in is probably not the one that you're thinking of. They were in the army. So it had nothing to do with the porn industry, but it also had everything to do with it. They were the ones who kind of put that whole world in front of me and encouraged it. And
they encouraged it?
Oh, very much so.
Your husband?
Yeah.
I struggle to understand this. So your husband, when you're 18 years old, is encouraging you towards the adult entertainment industry?
It started off as just online. But then eventually, yeah, when I was asked to I was given a business card and told to think about it. I went home, I laughed it off, and the consensus was, you should do it. I think it would be great. That's what I mean.
Okay, so you're. I read this story. You were out at lunch somewhere. A guy walks up to you when you're how old?
20.
And gives you a business card and says, if you ever want to consider getting into the adult entertainment industry, here's my number. You take that home. I was wondering this when I read about that part of your story. What happened post that business card? You know, because I was thinking, well, she was married, so you know, I've got a partner. My girlfriend comes home and says, a man's come up to me in the street and given me a card and made me an offer like that. I'm going to be honest, my natural disposition would be to like fucking burn the card.
Yeah.
Like.
Well, they were also unhealthy, had mental health issues that I don't know if they've ever addressed, but it's a sickness, and they were not the right. But the whole point of this is, when your relationship with yourself isn't right, you are not going to find the right person. You're not going to choose the right person. You're not going to choose someone who wants the best for you or will bring the best out of you, because you don't want that for yourself.
What were they getting out of it? You doing that, you accepting the invitation from that business card? What did they stand to gain from that?
Fetishization.
Really? That was it?
Yeah.
So there wasn't a commercial element or anything like that for them? Do you forgive that person?
No, I forgive myself.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Do you think there's a need to forgive people in life?
I think you need to forgive yourself for, if someone has crossed your boundary, you need to forgive yourself for letting that happen, for giving them a position in your life to hurt you like that. Me telling you that wasn't to explain or shift blame. It was to give context as to where I was mentally.
How do you, from that point onwards, from 20 years onwards then, for the next couple of years, when you look back at the Mia...
Sarah.
Sarah?
Yeah.
Would you prefer to be called Sarah?
Yeah. But it's not, I don't take offense to, I did a while ago, but I don't take offense to it, or I don't feel like my name's actually Sarah. It's either or.
You prefer to be called Sarah?
I do.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's Sarah, through that period of your life, characterized by low self-esteem, people around her capitalizing on that in various different ways, you, in your own words, not knowing better at that time in your life. At that point in your life, 20, 21, 22, you go and study, right? So you study at university, again, with the aim of pursuing some kind of academic or professional pursuit. And what was that?
History.
Yeah.
Didn't really see, even then I didn't see like a future doing anything. I just thought, I really enjoy studying history. Felt like watching a movie. Like I'm enamored with, like it's my favorite subject. It felt like the easiest thing. The second easiest thing is like psychology.
Oh, I love psychology.
Yeah, exactly. They're the interesting ones. They're the juicy majors. I didn't see myself doing anything other than whatever I had going on the next week. And then I guess the furthest I thought ahead was, I guess I'll work in archives or work in a museum or something. I didn't have a plan like, oh, I want to be a teacher or something.
I've heard you talk about weight loss and weight-related issues attached to the self-esteem conversation. What role did your weight play in all of this, and the self-esteem and the confidence and body image issues and all of that?
I think a pretty large one. My weight now still fluctuates. And the more that I've worked on myself in therapy, the less that bothers me and affects my relationship with myself. So even in the months where I feel like I do not look like myself, I don't feel like myself, I've let myself go a little bit, it doesn't affect me the way it used to 10 years ago. I don't fall, I don't let it get to me as much anymore. But it did for a very long time, because it was, I weighed like 60 pounds more than this, which is a lot.
That's a huge amount of weight to lose.
Yeah.
I read that the ways that you lost that weight were slightly troubling.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't eating well. I wasn't exercising well. I had unhealthy habits. I was young.
Therapy. You went to therapy. That's helped you get to where you are today.
Yeah.
What role has therapy played in your life, and when did you first start going to therapy?
Oh, the biggest role. 2016.
Yeah.
The biggest role. I'm still in therapy. I don't see myself ever stopping, really. I cycle out therapists. It's like, yeah, I love it. I love feeling like, okay, I'm ready for a fresh start. I'm ready for someone new. I'm ready for a new perspective. It's a way to keep me grounded. Every week I have to sit down and analyze myself, my thoughts, my past. Like, I have to dig down and actually come face to face with the decisions I've made, my ways of thinking, my relationship with myself. Like, there's accountability with therapy, and I think that's the biggest impact. I guess accountability. Yeah.
When you've dug down and sought to understand yourself, what are some of the key takeaways you've taken from therapy? So when I think about that question, if I was to be on the receiving end of it, one of the first things that comes to mind is actually my ongoing evolution of understanding why I was so avoidant in relationships, like always running away from any woman. Even if I pursued her and then she turned and said, okay, let's be boyfriend and girlfriend, I would just bounce. And I had this sort of like toxic model of like what love was from my parents, but then also all the shame and insecurities. Like, I think I'm ambitious. No, I'm being dragged by this need to be enough, right? So those are kind of the two top line ideas that I took away from my experience with sort of introspection. Are there any like big picture ideas that you've taken away from therapy that were epiphany moments, connected dots?
That's a loaded question, because I'm so grateful for all of the information I've learned about myself, like the dots I've been able to connect, like how being triggered by something a friend of mine says is actually related to the way that I felt ostracized on the playground when no one wanted to play with me. And like one little thing, even though they didn't mean it that way or even had any malicious intent behind it, has then taken me back to that 12-year-old girl who just feels so alone and doesn't know what she did wrong and just wants to people please. And I think the best part of therapy is within a split. Yeah, have you seen That's So Raven?
No.
Oh, it's this show with Raven Simone on the Disney Channel when we were growing up, and she has these visions. She's a psychic, and she just like stares off into space, and then she zooms out, and then she zooms back in, and no time has gone, but she saw maybe a 30-minute vision play out. But she comes back, and it's been like a split second, and that's what therapy feels like. It takes me back, and I analyze that moment, and I understand that moment is not this moment, and my friend cares about me, and she's not actually trying to make me feel like no one wants to play with me on the playground just because she said you can come if you want, and not I want you to come. You know what I mean? I think that's the magic behind therapy. It gives you time traveling superpowers.
Has it changed your perception of the period of your life where you enter the adult entertainment industry? Has it changed your perception? How you
yeah, absolutely. I spent so much time wondering, why did I do this? This is not me. I was in it for such a short amount of time, and the entire time I was doing it, I was also asking myself every day, why am I doing this? What is wrong with me? What is wrong with me? That's like the number one question. And I know what was wrong with me. I had low self-esteem. I had no boundaries with myself. I didn't respect myself. I didn't like myself. So many things were wrong with me, and all of these things anyone can work on. It's hard. It is hard though. It's hard. Once you become self-aware, there's no going back. I think I cried more in the first 2 years of being in therapy than I ever did going through anything I did in my life, in my adolescence, in my early teens, and anything.
This is why a lot of people don't go to therapy.
It's hard. That self-awareness is like, I mean, no. And especially once you start realizing things about people in your life that you've kind of put rose-colored glasses on for all your life, to make up excuses or to kind of change the situation in your head so that you don't actually have to face what the reality was, or the fact that, wow, this is actually a really situation. This person that I love, who's supposed to support me, who's supposed to be there for me, was actually not that great in hindsight, not even in hindsight, in 2020 sight, in actual vision.
And the shedding that takes place when you become
shedding. That's a great word.
Isn't
Yeah,
it?
that's great. That's exactly how it feels.
Slowly letting these little pieces go. What's interesting is when I read about your life post the adult entertainment industry, which was only a couple of months anyway, all in all, you sounded incredibly isolated. So when I think about the word shedding, I think of all these people that you're letting go. But in that period, you sounded like you were alone. I remember the story of you going to Austin and meeting your friend on Twitter, all those kinds of things. Take me to that period then. So you make the decision that career is not for you. What happens the next day, week, month, post that?
Fucking loneliness. I was living in an efficiency. An efficiency is not even a studio. It's where this rug cuts off to that wall. That is wider than what it was, but definitely the length. My toilet, my bathroom sink was also my kitchen sink. There was no stove. There was a broken window that I had tape over, and there was only one window. It's a room. I think they're popular in South Florida, or like, I don't think you have them here because I don't think they're legal to like sell as living spaces. Very lonely, extremely lonely. But at that point in my life, loneliness was better than what I was doing before. And that, I think, was the start of the tiniest bit of confidence. That gave me the confidence to take the risk of moving to Austin and starting a new life. And I was so lonely. I was so broke. I was so lost. I was so confused. But all I was completely 100% sure of was, I don't want to do porn. I've never wanted to do porn. I'm never going to go back to that. And standing firm on my ground in my morals, in my boundaries, in just everything, that was like the tiniest glimmer of confidence starting to grow. Standing firm in my boundaries, even if I didn't know that was a boundary. I couldn't pinpoint it. I couldn't call it that. I didn't know what it was. I didn't have the verbiage or the knowledge or the self-awareness to call it what it was. But that was how it started. I would not, if I hadn't moved to Austin, I wouldn't have started therapy. I wouldn't have, that was the domino effect of, in a positive way in my life. Mm-hmm. It could have gone a completely other way, and it does for so many people. And I'm so grateful that I was able to get out.
That first domino falling, which took you to Austin in that new direction, was there a catalyst? Was there something that pushed that domino? Because I noticed that in this sort of timeline of events, you then at the same time separate from your partner around a similar time, and then you leave the adult entertainment industry. Was there a catalyst? Because those two decisions are huge decisions, and they feel correlated. They feel like they're attached.
I had nothing to lose, and I think that I also knew I need to get the fuck out of Miami. I was in Miami at the time, and it was where everything happened, and I just did not want to be there anymore. It felt daunting. It felt like walls closing in on me everywhere I went.
Was there like a catalyst day though? Something that happens that makes you go, "Fuck, I need to," or was it just slowly?
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was the day I met my best friend on Twitter. I didn't meet her that day on Twitter. Her and I had been following each other for a while. She posts memes. I like them. Vice versa. Her and I were talking about something. Oh, she said, I'm looking for a roommate. I'm asking around the office for a roommate. And I said, what if I move to Austin? I don't want to live in Miami anymore. And then I started looking up, how do you move states? Like, what does it take? What does it require? What paperwork do I need for my dogs? Like all of that stuff. And then within a month, I was packed up and moved.
And was there a catalyst for you deciding to leave the adult entertainment industry, even though you were there for a couple of months? Was there anything?
I think it was how overwhelming everything became so fast.
Okay.
Like that was the reality check. It was like when they turn the lights on at the club at 4 a.m, like, whoa,
okay.
the floors are sticky and nothing looks the same. This is not what I signed up for. It's not what I expected. I fucked up.
That's not a typical experience for an actress in that industry.
No, not at all.
That is a very atypical experience because you went from obscurity to number one in an industry in weeks.
Yeah.
So you got hit by a fucking truck.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.